Welcome to this edition of Diverse Orange, our conversations about diversity here in Central Florida. My guest today is Amy Akamine. Did I pronounce it right?
It's Akamine, but you're
Akamine.
like so close. But everyone, I mean, it's kind of normal that, I mean, if anyone even gets it that right, yeah, I normally say yes, but
So are you
yeah,
saying there's a little bit of accent on the very end?
yeah, Akamine,
Akamine.
yeah, Akamine. So Akamine.
Right. Okay. So tell us about that name and what heritage that is.
So the name Akamine actually is an Okinawan name. It's which Okinawa is, for those of you that know, maybe if you're in the military or have traveled quite a bit in Asia, it's a tiny little island off of Japan in the Ryukyu Islands. And that's where my family is from. The name actually means red mountain. So Aka is kind of, Akai is red in Japanese, and like Mine, I guess, means mountain. So yeah, so that's where my name originates from. And that's where my parents immigrated from after World War II to the United States, where I was the first American born in Los Angeles, California.
So I'm curious. I have never asked someone about this. So Japan was enemy of the United States in the war, but after the war, they moved to the country of their country's former enemy. Tell me about that. Do you know? Have they talked about that?
So I would say, I guess if you could, yeah, that could be a way to look at it. Though, I mean, I guess the way that I see it, and I've never really asked, my parents why, or even my dad why, because it was really my dad that that moved here. But in my mind, a lot of times war is not really something that is started by general population, right? It's really powers that be that make decisions on, what they want to do and why. So I would also say that because Okinawa has always, in a sense, been, and it's something I really want to get more understanding around. But from the little that I know is, Okinawa's, it's really has, it's been its own country, but it's been almost inhabited or taken over by, whether it was Japan, and then it was actually a territory of the US for a while, and then it went back, to Japan. It's almost been like a country with no country. So I say all that because it's, again, this is just my interpretation. If I were, kind of in their shoes and thinking about it, that, it really wasn't their war. So, they're, in a sense, as casualties of war. But then I think after the war, and maybe even seeing, my guess is just opportunity, and maybe wanting to even, go someplace new or different. And which is, again, that's my guess. I never asked my father. He's passed, but
Yeah. Well,
but I thought about that, and when it's like, wow, why would you leave your country of origin so far away, especially with no family, landing in a country that, he only knew people, but he had no family ties, and neither parent did. So my guess, it's because it's,
sure,
it's the land of opportunity.
yeah, it makes total sense. And I was just reading something today about 10,000 Germans that immigrated here after World War II. Actually, 10,000 former Nazi Germans. So there's probably more than that. Anyway, but that's not you. So tell us, you were born and grew up in California.
Yes.
And how did your cultural heritage affect your growing up?
Well, I was something, and again, I think if you even think back or even remember, back after World War II, and my parents moved here, it was like late 50s. So, from 1945 to, let's say, 55, or even, 60s. So that's 15 years after, one of the major, two major world wars that happened. Ended. So, and then moving to California, where, California really has the largest population of Asians. And then at that time of, of Japanese, it was very, it was difficult, I guess, for me. I mean, only because I saw it so much, and I grew up in LA. So, land of movies and film and, television. And we used to watch this show called World at War. And it was just all about the history of World War II. And because my parents, at least mainly my mom, she was actually, her parents, she's originally Okinawan, but then they moved to the Philippines because they had an opportunity at some point prior to the war to move to another, and it seems like another territory, U.S. territory, because they had an option of moving to either Guam, Hawaii, or Okinawa, or Philippines. I think another country. They ended up moving to the Philippines. So bottom line, my mom was born in the Philippines from Okinawan parents before the war, and then the war broke out, and then my mom and her family ended up in the jungles, hiding in the jungles in the Philippines until the war ended. So so it was really the war was really big, in the minds of my mom and they basically left because of that, or at least find opportunity here in the US. But we were so, I don't know, for whatever reason, engulfed with just things about the war, World War II, because it was such a big war. So I just saw a lot of, I remember, films that were made of, those Japs and, just all of these, it felt very like not comfortable, I guess, to be Japanese. So for me, it was hard.
Did you grow up in a Japanese community where there were other Japanese?
So yeah, the funny thing was, so I grew up in Hawthorne, and which now is where the home of SpaceX is. But Hawthorne didn't have a lot of Japanese or even Asians in the city. Where the big population near where I grew up in South Bay is a city called Gardena, and that's where many. That was like the second largest population of Japanese Americans or Japanese outside of Little Tokyo and downtown LA. So I didn't really grow up around a lot of Japanese people. But the ones, it was just funny. You always kind of can count on one hand the other, Japanese or Asian kids that were in your neighborhood or went to your school. But yeah, I wasn't really surrounded by it. But one of the main things is that for myself, I guess my own sanity is that I didn't want to be Japanese. I didn't want to be this exterior person. So I just because I wanted to be I wanted to fit in, I guess, with,
Sure.
any kid, so I just wanted to look and act like, everyone else that was not Japanese, basically,
Have you changed in that? Has there been a time when you say, no, I want to embrace my Japanese heritage?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's taken me a while, but I would say over the last couple decades, it's definitely been a journey that I've, decided and wanting to embrace more, and really only truly, since I moved here to Florida. So, I moved here to Central Florida, 2008. So what, 16 years. And I think because of that, and because of the minimal amount of, Asians that I even saw, let alone Japanese, I saw in Central Florida versus in LA, it's like, it's just, again, one of the largest populations of Asians is on the West Coast. But yeah, it led me on a path to want to, know a little, be and associate more myself, around, more Asians and get to meet more Asian Americans, as well as just, being, I guess, more around just more Asians or Asian people, and so it has been a journey that I've been on. But it's been, and what's been great about here in Central Florida and in Orange County, and in Orlando, it's just, the truly it is very diverse, here, and I love the ability to have been able to connect with not only just Asian Americans or Asians, but just so many different cultures here, and that's what I really have enjoyed about this journey that I've been on.
Great. Well, we're glad that you have taken that journey and that you've agreed to share some of it with us, and thank you for talking with us today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Sayonara.
And thank you for watching this edition of Diverse Orange.